sheets to keep handy. It will be really nice for you all to know the prayers and learn the prayers by heart. So for those who don't have the prayer sheets, we'll drop the PDF of the prayer sheets again on the group so that you'll have access to it handy. Om Agyantimirandasya Gyananjana Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayamrupakadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutaha Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajata Sahagana Raghunatam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Sute Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhano Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriya Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindhu Vacha Pattanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna. Very happy and grateful to be amidst all of you all here today. Once again, welcome all of you to the Gita classes. We are extremely grateful and fortunate to be entering into the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, which is entitled as Contents of the Gita Summarized. So the reason why this chapter is called Contents of the Gita Summarized is very interesting. I'll share that and then we'll begin today's session. So the way the Bhagavad Gita is structured is very interesting. Though there are 18 chapters in the entire Gita, actually Krishna's Bhagavad Gita gets over in the second chapter itself. So if you have read the second chapter and understood the second chapter, you actually understood the whole Gita. So if at the end of the second chapter, Arjun didn't ask a single question, Krishna would have, said, thank you very much. And the class would have got over, and technically the Gita would have ended there. But because Arjun kept asking questions after that, that's why there was so much more discussion that happened. But everything that Krishna wants to convey to Arjun, he already conveyed in the second chapter. That's why if you study the second chapter well, we are technically studying the entire Gita. So, having said that, please do pay attention to the second chapter because this has a lot. This has a lot of substance, and it's going to be very, very powerful in terms of the concepts that are going to be shared here, and also the many, many learnings that you're going to come across in the second chapter. So having given that background, let us start the second chapter of the Gita with this verse. So as I'm reciting the verse, you can repeat after me. It will really be beneficial for you all to chant the verses of the Gita. They are very auspicious, very purifying, and very uplifting. Even if you don't understand them at all, don't worry. You will eventually understand them because I'm going to explain them. Sanjaya Uvacha Tam Tata Kripaya Vishtam Ashrupurna Kulekshanam Vishidantam Vidam Vakyam Uvacha Madhusudana. So this verse is obviously spoken by Sanjay. Sanjay Uvacha means Sanjay is speaking this verse. Tam Tata Kripaya Vishtam Ashrupurna Kulekshanam Vishidantamidam vakyam uvacha Madhusudana. So this verse, technically, what it means is that um, on seeing Arjun overwhelmed with compassion, kripaya vishtam, tam tata kripaya vishtam. Kripa means compassion, right? Kripaya vishtam, overwhelmed with compassion. And Ashrupurna Kulekshanam. Ashru is tears. Ashrupurna Kulekshanam means his eyes are filled with tears. Vishidantam idam vakyam. He spoke the following words. Who spoke the following words? Uvacha Madhusudana. So Krishna was inspired seeing Arjun's compassion. Seeing Arjun's compassion and his confusion, more than compassion, you know. So Arjun's eyes were filled with tears, and then Krishna speaks. So words coming out from Krishna's mouth, from his heart, are as a result of the compassion that Arjun is feeling in his heart, and also the overwhelming frustration, sadness, tears that are coming out from his eyes. So looking at Arjun's condition, Krishna is inspired to speak. So remember, Bhagavad Gita is a dialogue. Whenever you are in a communication with anybody, your words are not by-hearted words, isn't it? It's not that, you know, like when you go to talk to someone, especially when there's a counseling session or some, you know, problem hearing session, it's not that you already learn a set of answers to give, and before that guy starts telling the problem, you start giving solutions. No, it's a dialogue. That means the person asks a question, and then you hear, experience what that person is feeling, and then you share. So Krishna is doing here. So in this particular verse, we see the whole idea of Arjun's situation there, and we see the idea of, you know, kripaya vishtam, you know, the whole confusion in Arjun's heart, the whole idea of frustration, confusion, which is very much important. India is an amazing place, because India is a place for problem solving. Let me explain, just to give you some statistics of how India is a place of problem solving. 38% of doctors in America are Indians. 12% of scientists are Indians. 36% of NASA scientists are Indians. 34% of Microsoft employees are Indians. 12% of Intel workers are Indians. The US knows India for their professionals, for their intelligence, and they use India because Indians know to produce things and develop things. So Indians are known for many things in this world, you know. UK may know Indians for cricket, you know. The Eastern world knows India for Bollywood. In Russia, one of the big hit heroes in Russia is Mithun Chakravarti and Hema Malini. In Japan, people just know one Indian, and that is Rajinikanth. You know, because all the Japanese technology just doesn't match to Rajinikanth's movie stunts and style that he does. You know, Japanese people just go crazy looking at what he does, basically. And of course, Indians are also known for laziness to a great extent. So India is known for so many things. The Western world is considered to be like a blind man, and the Eastern world is considered to be like a lame man. So the West always depended on India for direction. And now, unfortunately, we are looking to the West for direction. What an irony, isn't it? I mean, the world was looking at India for direction all these years, and somehow we started now looking towards the West for direction. Indian culture is a very, very powerful culture. And it is so very important that we understand the culture in which we're sitting. Srila Prabhupada said, the culture of this country is like asphodita, hing. For those who don't know what asphodita means, hing, you know, sure you know hing, right? Anybody who's entered the kitchen will know hing. Those who are not into the kitchen will not know what hing is. So if you take a pinch of hing in your hand, aspharita in your hand, and just put it in your cooking and all that, but the smell of aspharita stays for a long period of time on your hands, isn't it? And if you wash your hands also, the odor still stays. So Indian culture is like that. It never gets lost. So you may not have any connection with it, but somewhere the smell of Indian culture will still be there on you, whether you want it or not want it. And Indian culture is like an elephant. An elephant, whether it is dead or alive, it is very valuable. So, I mean, when it is dead, it's every part of its body has so much of value in it. Similarly, Indian culture, whether it's dead or alive, it's very, very valuable. It is dying, but it's still valuable. So no matter how we have changed in our looks, our clothes, our eating habits, our styles, it does not matter. Our culture is still here. That's our heritage. And if you don't take our culture and heritage seriously, it's a shame because we belong to such a great culture. So the interesting thing about our culture is it is always in connection with enlightenment. The best state of life to be in is a state where we are seeking clarity. We are seeking clarity from confusion. This openness for wanting clarity is something that India should really be proud of. Confusion sometimes is the best state to be enlightened. If you're not confused, a lot of times we don't want to be enlightened because we think we know everything. When we're confused, that is a time there is a possibility we might think that I don't know everything, right? So Indians always have a desire to learn, but unfortunately, when Indians start thinking they know everything, then you can't help them. I come across a lot of such Indians who actually think they know everything. And then, I don't even dare to help them because, if you try helping such people, then they have a whole plethora of arguments waiting to, pounce on you, and they just don't want to listen, basically. Sometimes it is easier to help Westerners understand our culture than to help Indians. Srila Prabhupada, he tried a lot in India. 1965, when he began preaching in India, he tried for 6 years, literally, trying to preach to Indians. And you know how many people he managed to inspire? Half an Indian. Not even one Indian, half an Indian. Why I'm saying half? Because one fellow who became Prabhupada's disciple also, he did what he wants. He never followed what Prabhupada taught him. He did it. He has his own style of doing things. So Prabhupada realized that as long as I try in India, it's very difficult to inspire these guys because they're just imitating the West. So Prabhupada said, let me go there, preach to the Westerners, and when they get inspired and become devotees, the Indians will imitate them for becoming devotees also. Because they think everything that is coming from the West is good. So Prabhupada actually went to the West and started preaching. And within a matter of 12 years, he had 10,000 disciples. Imagine what a difference, 6 years in India and half a disciple, and 12 years traveling around the world, 10,000 disciples. So the mentality, which is so very important to learn, is to be open to accept things. When a pot is kept upside down, very difficult to give knowledge to such a pot. And when the pot is kept in the right position, it's easy to pour in knowledge. But if the pot has holes, even if it is in the right position, it won't be able to retain knowledge, right? It will all leak out. And then there's a third type of pot, which may be, full, proper, without any holes in it, but maybe dirty inside. So a dirty pot also you can't fill it properly. So the first thing is that pot has to be kept in the right position. It can't be upside down. The second thing is that even if it is in the right position, it has to be clean. The third thing is that even if it is clean, it should not have any holes in it. So similarly, for all of us to gain knowledge and grasp knowledge, first thing is that our pot of our intelligence, pot of our absorption, pot of our ability to learn should be straight. That means I should be like a vessel eager to receive knowledge. Second thing is, if you're upside down, that means no matter you get the best of best teachers, no one can help you retain knowledge. The second thing is that for us to be able to retain knowledge, we should be clean inside. That means there should be some amount of cleanliness of thoughts, cleanliness of actions, cleanliness of intentions. And the third thing is that there should not be holes in it. Holes are referred to ulterior motives, material desires. You put the message comes out. It goes in, but comes out. So there are some people who are just so much filled with that ulterior motives. Why am I here? Why am I wanting to gain this knowledge? If you have ulterior motives, it's very difficult for knowledge to be creating transformation in your lives. Someone who has nasty thoughts, critical mentality, they're all symptoms of ulterior motives. We all need to chant the holy names of the Lord. And why is chanting so much recommended? Because it cleanses the heart. It makes the vessel of our heart ready for knowledge. It makes our heart, which is like a vessel, the right container for knowledge to be poured in. And therefore, it's not only the Gita classes that is going to help you, but also your personal process of chanting the holy names of the Lord. Both of it, when put together, it creates the right vessel for you to absorb knowledge and gain so much knowledge. We find that a lot of people in this world are like Dhritarashtra and Duryodhana. They have so much access to knowledge, but they don't want to, they can't hold it because they unfortunately don't have the right heart, right container. Dhritarashtra is the son of Vyasa, and Sanjaya is a disciple of Vyasa. The son was born blind, but the disciple had the vision to see future. Therefore, all of us should aspire to become Sanjayas. And therefore, this verse, it says Sanjaya Vacha. It is so very important. We all, right now, maybe Dhritarashtras, we may not be blind physically, but we are blind in our vision. We are blind in our desires. We are blind in our compassion, love, so many ways. We all should become Sanjayas, who has clarity, who has connection, and who has knowledge. So when we understand our true glory, then we will know how to get knowledge. So here, this particular verse, it starts with Ashru Purna Kulekshanam. Tam tata kripaya vishtam Ashru Purna Kulekshanam. So this word Ashru Purna Kulekshanam means it's referring to Arjun's lamentations. So tears are very powerful. When you cry, it's one of the most powerful emotions that human beings experience, right? And we cry for so many reasons. But every time we cry, that means somewhere very deeply in our heart we have been touched. That is when we cry. Of course, there are some people who become so expert that they can cry anytime they want, Acting, it's called crocodile tears, basically, But usually, most people are not like that. When a fish cries, I don't know if any of y'all have ever seen a fish cry. You can't. Why? Because it's inside water. Even if a fish cries, what will you see? It's water everywhere. You won't even come to know the fish is crying. Many people are unfortunately like fishes. They cry. but nobody cares. Nobody sees they're crying. Nobody understands that they're crying. Nobody even experiences their tears. Why? Because many times human beings become so insensitive. They don't care for other people's tears. They don't care for other people's pains. So when you cry, what happens? One of the things that happens when you cry, of the many things, is that everything becomes blurred around you. If you have ever tried to drive while crying, please don't. Better stop and cry and then drive. If you try to look when you're crying, you can't see clearly. Why? Because the tears just blur your vision totally. When you cry, you can't see properly, which means proper perspective is lost. Each one of us shed tears for our failures, for our losses, for our defeats, without understanding that those failures, losses, defeats may actually be opportunities for us to grow. Most people lament a lot. It is so very important to deal with our lamentations on a daily basis, day in and day out, literally on a daily basis. I talk to people who are going through pain and suffering in their lives, who are going through so many losses, calamities, troublesome situations, tough relationships. Unfortunately, what I notice among all the people that I speak to, one of the things that I notice is they don't have the ability to deal with their lamentations. They don't have the ability to deal gracefully with their lamentations, with their frustrations, with their sadness. And this, I feel, should be taught in schools and colleges. Of all the many subjects that we need to be taught, English, mathematics, this, that, we also should have a subject on dealing with emotions. Unfortunately, nobody teaches us this. We don't have a subject on dealing with failure. We don't have a subject on dealing with success. We don't have a subject on all these things. Therefore, whenever I get to teach, especially when I teach in B schools and MBA colleges, I make sure I do one full session on dealing with success and failures. And you might think that why would a MBA student need a session on dealing with success and failures? 100% they need, because that's the unfortunate reality of life. We are not taught how to handle lamentations, how to deal. The simple way of learning to deal with our lamentations is submit to the words of the Gita. Right now, Arjun is Ashru Purna Kulekshanam. He's crying. Eyes are filled with tears. You know what the Gita is? The Gita is like a handkerchief given to you to wipe your eyes. Remove all the lamentation. So we may have many reasons to lament. And unfortunately, many of the things that we lament about don't help us at all. Worries are like a rocking chair. They keep you moving, but take you nowhere. So when you worry, when you lament, when you cry, you seem to be very busy. Especially if you sit with someone who is crying, you should be ready for at least a few hours of engagement, because they can cry and they can keep telling you their problem over and over again. Same thing they'll keep repeating, in loops, basically. That's the nature of lamentation. The nature of lamentation is that you cling on to things. You cling on to your past very tightly, and there is no room for future when you cling on so tightly to the past. And that's the nature of lamentation. Unfortunately, when we are in this situation that Arjun is in, Ashura Purna Kulekshanam, we are in no position to see for ourselves. We are in no position to understand the situations of life for ourselves. That's why we first need a Bhagavad Gita, which acts like a handkerchief to wipe the tears from our eyes and give us proper perspective towards life. So the Bhagavad Gita is a very powerful tool. In fact, the Gita, it helps us understand the idea of lamentation in a very, very simple way. And it gives us practical, tangible solutions for that. Every lock has a key. There is no lock that is made in this world that doesn't have a key. When you go to a lock manufacturer, you will always find that the lock manufacturer, along with making the lock, makes the key also. So you will never find problems in life that don't have a solution. Or we start thinking that my problem is so unique. Nobody in the world ever has faced such a problem. My dear friends, sorry to say that your problem is not unique. There are millions of people who have faced exactly the same problem that you're facing. So there is nothing unique about our problems. And there's nothing unique about the solution that is waiting for us also. The solution that was relevant to Arjun hundreds and thousands of years before is relevant to us today. The solution that Krishna gave Arjun for his problems is exactly relevant today for us to deal with our problems of life. What is our greatest enemy? Our greatest enemy is ignorance. When we are ignorant of what the realities of life is, that is our greatest enemy. The enemy of ignorance promises us happiness. We have more in the show window and less in the storeroom. That's the reality of today. Everybody, their Instagram profiles are first class, very well maintained. But what about their hearts? The relationships on Instagram look so beautiful. But what about in reality? Somehow, human beings have a great knack of showing the world that everything is fine. We have a great knack of convincing the world that I'm looking good. And we are all concerned about looking good. But the question is, am I really concerned about being good? Here, Arjun is very clear that things are not good in my life. He's very clear. And he has someone to open his heart to and tell that I am losing perspective. I'm losing sense of what is right and what is good. So Arjun has someone to actually speak up to. The result of people showing something and being something, looking good but not being good, is depression. The result is depression. The result is loneliness. There is somewhere a pinprick in society. And unfortunately, people are not ready to accept that there's a pinprick in society. So we all need guidance at every moment. We all need guidance at every moment to help us understand the realities of life. I often talk about our world today in 3 sentences. These are very interesting sentences. It says, people spend money that they don't have. How do you spend money you don't have? Credit cards, EMIs, so many ways now of spending money that you don't have. Loans. So people spend money that they don't have to buy things they don't need and to impress people they don't like. This is life in 3 sentences. And this is simply the result of the whole chaos that we are going through right now. So Arjun, he's frustrated, he's sad, he's depressed, he's crying. And in such a situation, Krishna is being addressed here. Sanjaya is using a very interesting word. Sanjaya is telling Dhritarashtra, Tam tata kripaya vishtam, ashrupurna kulekshanam, vishidantam idam vakyam, uvacha Madhusudana. So Krishna's name that is taken over here is Madhusudan. Why is Krishna addressed here as Madhusudan? What does Madhusudan mean? The word Madhu refers to the name of a demon. So there was a demon named Madhu Kaitaba. But in the beginning of creation, from the navel of Lord Vishnu, a beautiful lotus emerges. And on top of that lotus is Lord Brahma present. So when Brahma is sitting over there, on top of that lotus, he hears the first letter, the first syllable that ever is heard in this universe. The first syllable is tapa. Tapa. What is the meaning of tapa? Tapa means perform austerities. Therefore, if you want to know what is life in one word, life in one word is sacrifice. That's the first word that ever came out in this universe. What makes us think that life means enjoyment? A lot of people have misunderstood the meaning of life as fun. But actually, the original meaning, the first letter that was ever heard in this universe is sacrifice. As long as your life is a sacrifice, it will be meaningful. And it will be in alignment with the purpose for which it was created. So Brahma was born on top of that lotus flower, and he heard this word tapa, and he sat down on the lotus and started meditating. As Brahma was meditating intensely, Lord Vishnu was breathing. From the breath of Vishnu came the Vedas. And the Vedas entered into the ears of Lord Brahma. And suddenly Brahma became enlightened with all the 4 Vedas. That is how knowledge was given to Brahma. And then something happened. These 2 demons, Madhu and Kaitab, they did something unbelievable. They stole the Vedas from the mind of Lord Brahma. For all those who are scared of hacking, imagine this one. They hacked Brahma's mind. What a superior level of hacking. Today we can hack people's computers. You give them a link and you can hack money from their, mobile phones and from their, Paytm wallets and whatever. But look at this level of hacking. They hacked the knowledge of the Vedas from Brahma's mind directly. And then Brahmaji was completely shocked and bewildered when he lost the Vedas suddenly. And Lord Vishnu, he appeared at that point to save the Vedas. He appeared as Hayagriva, the horse incarnation of the Lord. And Hayagriva, he destroyed Madhu Kaitab and returned the Vedas back to Lord Brahma's mind. So he kind of helped Brahma get back the Vedas. Now, here, why is Sanjay using the word Madhusudan? Here, another type of hacking has happened. So far, Arjun was very, very clear in his mind, very, very absolutely, stable in his mind. Suddenly, he has lost his mind. He has lost his stability. He has lost his confidence. What has been hacked? His knowledge has been hacked and ignorance has been filled in his mind. Doubts have been filled in his mind. When you are filled with doubts, when you are filled with ignorance and you lose a sense of knowledge, you lose a sense of clarity, that is when you need Madhusudan, the one who has the power to destroy doubts. So Krishna is known as Madhusudan because he has the ability to destroy doubts from our mind. So we are all like Arjun, Ashrupurna Kulekshanam. We are confused, we are bewildered, our eyes are filled with tears. Now you might say, I'm not crying. Doesn't matter if you're crying or not crying. When we say Ashrupurna Kulekshanam, it's not just about physical tears. It's about confusions. It's about lack of clarity. It's about the bewilderment of the heart. So Krishna is called Madhusudan because he is the one who can slay the demon of doubt that is growing enormously in Arjun's mind. The demons are always small in the beginning, but then they keep growing. Until one day they just occupy our entire mind. Therefore, if you have a demon of doubt that has grown, that has taken a small form in your mind, clarify it. If you clarify it immediately, the demon won't grow. If you don't clarify, the demon will grow at one day and your state will become like Arjun, Ashrupurna Kulekshanam, completely confused and completely bewildered. Krishna is also called Madhusudan for another reason. The word Madhu also means sweet. Madhusudan means the one who destroys our lamentation by his sweetness. Krishna is the God of love. He's a God of grace. He gives us unlimited opportunities to correct our ways. Our hearts are filled with bitterness, isn't it? We're all in this material world. We're all in Kali Yuga, Wherever we are, whichever country you are in, it's the same thing, Our hearts are filled with bitterness. Why? Because we have heard bitter words from others. We have had bitter experiences. We are filled with bitter feelings. So we are all more or less walking bitterness personified, literally. We are all filled with so much bitterness in our hearts. We can experience the sweetness of Krishna's love through his devotees. It is so important for us to connect with the devotees of the Lord and to chant the holy names of the Lord. When we chant the holy names of the Lord and connect with the devotees of the Lord, we start experiencing Madhu. What is the meaning of Madhu? Madhu means nectar. There is actually so much nectar in hearing from the great devotees of the Lord. There is so much nectar of knowledge when we absorb the wisdom of the Gita, the Bhagavad, the Ramayana, the Mahabharata. There is so much nectar. And devotees are a storehouse of nectar. You press them anywhere, nectar comes out. And that's why it is so important to connect with devotees. So the material world fills us with bitter experiences. Our friends, our family, our bosses, our colleagues, the trains and buses, everywhere we have had so many bitter experiences. And then we come to the association of devotees. And in the association of devotees, suddenly we start experiencing flood of nectar. Once a week, hear Gita class, and suddenly you feel, wow, so much nectar. That's what association of devotees helps us with. Fills us with Madhu. Krishna is nectar. And the third reason why Krishna is called Madhusudan is something very interesting and very important. Madhu also means honey. So I don't know how many of you all drink honey on a regular basis. It's very nice. But one day, if you drink too much honey, what happens? I'm sure if some of you have experienced this, you will understand what I'm saying. But if you have not, please try doing it one day and you'll understand it. When you drink too much honey, your head starts spinning. You get intoxicated. You get so intoxicated, the head starts spinning. How sweet it is to hear our own praise. Somebody praises you, you say, wow, this is like nectar. So nice. Please continue praising me. Please continue. We just love hearing our own praise, right? So, false ego is also compared to honey. Pampering the false ego is what this world does to us many times. We just get pampered. Our false ego gets pampered with our name tags, our positions, and our visiting cards and our websites, our social media sites, and so many ways of pampering the false ego we have found. And we're inventing newer and newer ways of pampering our false ego. So the more our false ego gets pampered, the more proud we become. And false ego is like honey. It's intoxicating. It's intoxicating to hear your own sweetness or your own praises. Therefore, Krishna is called Madhusudan. He is the one who destroys the false ego. He has killed a demon named Madhu. There's another demon sitting in your heart which loves praise. And Krishna is expert in, destroying that false ego. It's like a big balloon. Our false ego is like a balloon. I mean, the world pumps up our balloon, right? There are so many people that are just flattering us, and our balloon gets pumped up. and we roam around with such fat, big balloons, false ego. And what is God's role in our lives? He is Madhusudan. He roams around with a small pin and he keeps poking, tug, 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 blasts all the big balloons that we have created of a false ego. That's God's role in our lives. It is so important to have Madhusudan in our lives who can help us destroy a false ego. Why is Sanjaya calling Krishna here as Madhusudan? The reason Sanjay is calling Krishna here as Madhusudan, Uvacha Madhusudana, is because Arjun is filled with compassion. His compassion is coming out in the form of tears, in the form of so many unbelievable, array of frustrated experiences, and also he's confused. He's confused because he is seeming to be lamenting for something that, according to Krishna, is not right. So Sanjaya feels that only someone who has the right perspective can help someone who is losing his perspective. To gain perspective, you need someone who is stable and clear. When you're crying and there's somebody else who's crying, can a crying person help another crying person? They'll only cry more. Can a person who's drowning in quicksand help another person who's drowning in quicksand? They will only drown faster in, right? So to be able to help someone who is crying, you need someone who is not crying. As simple as that. And therefore, Ashrupurna Kulechna, Arjuna is lamenting so much. He's crying so much. And for such a crying person, only Madhusudan can help. Someone who is expert in destroying doubts, someone who is expert in filling sweetness in our lives, replacing bitterness with sweetness, and someone who is expert in destroying the false ego. Why is destroying false ego so important? You know why? Because sometimes for us to get a perspective, we need someone who can speak the truth to us with a bash, with a smash. So here the word Kripaya Vishtam is used. That means Arjun was crying out of compassion. But what is compassion? If someone is compassionate for the wrong thing, that's not really compassion at all, right? There was an old lady who was drowning. She had 3 son-in-laws. And one day when she was drowning, one son-in-law saved her. So she gave him a Porsche car. So she was just testing these guys, whether this fellow will come and save me or no. So the first son-in-law saved her. So she gave him a Porsche car. And the next day, again, she did the same natak, of drowning. And this time, the second son-in-law actually saved her. So she gave him a Ferrari car. And the third day, she again, was drowning in the water, and the third son-in-law was there. And this guy didn't save him. Didn't save her. She died. The father-in-law sent him a Rolls-Royce car. Because he was so happy his wife died. So a lot of times we try to show compassion towards others, but first of all, we don't know what compassion is ourselves. It's like if you're trying to save a drowning man, man is drowning and he's like putting his hand in the air and please save me, save me, save me, he's doing, The fellow who is watching this fellow drown, he goes and brings his watch back because he thought maybe this fellow didn't want his watch to get wet, he was shaking his hand like that. This fellow only went and got back the watch. Srila Prabhupada gives a very interesting understanding. He says, compassion for the dress of a drowning man is not true. It's not true compassion. The body is like a dress. We're all wearing this body, right? The soul is inside the body. The body is like a dress. So some of us have, one particular type of dress, human dress. Somebody has a monkey dress, somebody has a crocodile dress, different dresses. We are all wearing different dresses. And what is true compassion? A lot of people show compassion to the body. While compassion to the body is important, while showing compassion to the physical self is important, it is more important to show compassion to the soul which is within us. Real compassion transforms character by spirituality. Like, for example, in ISKCON, we have this whole midday meal scheme, where we distribute unlimited number of food packets to people, especially to kids who are going to schools, government schools. Now, you might say that we are also doing the same thing. We're trying to be compassionate to the body. Yes, but there's a difference. The difference is that whatever prasad we give out, it's first offered to the Lord and then given out. So it is not just compassion to the physical body, but it's also compassion to the soul within us. When these small kids eat prasad, they're not just getting physical benefit of their body is getting nourished, but they're actually getting benefit of the soul, the deepest level of spiritual nourishment. Therefore, when we understand what compassion is, we are not only compassionate towards people's bodies, we become compassionate towards people's souls also. The greatest hunger is not the hunger of the belly. The greatest hunger is the hunger of the heart. So everyone today is taking care of the hunger of the belly, but still people are so empty in their hearts. And therefore, real compassion is when you not only take care of the physical need, but you also take care of the spiritual need. Arjun could see Bhishma and Drona as persons, but he could not see their souls. He wanted to save their bodies, and he was lamenting because he was not able to see clearly. He didn't have a clear vision. He didn't have a clear understanding. And because Arjun didn't have a clear vision and understanding, he was crying so much. He was so disturbed. He was so confused. And in this confusion, Krishna starts speaking. When Krishna sees Arjun filled with tears, Ashru Purna Kulekshanam, Krishna speaks this verse. He says, this is another amazing verse of the Gita. Where Krishna is saying, and look at the beginning of Krishna's statements. Look at the beginning of, this is the first verse that Krishna is speaking in the Gita. I'm not getting into details of this verse now, but I just want to highlight it just to begin with. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Kutastva Kashmalamidam Vishame Samupastitam Anarya Justum Aswargyam Akirti Karam Arjuna. So Krishna is telling Arjun that Kutastva Kashmalam Idam. Says, where have these impurities come into you from? Vishame Samupastitam Anarya Justum Aswargyam. He says that these impurities that have come into you, impurities means what? Wrong thought process, wrong mindset, wrong understanding, wrong conclusions. He says this is not worthy of attention. This is not worthy of appreciation, but this will only bring you infamy. So I'm going to analyze this verse the next time. But let me just tell you the mood in which Krishna is speaking. Krishna is telling Arjun, you are a fool. In essence, that's all. That's what Krishna is telling Arjun. He's starting the Bhagavad Gita by calling Arjuna a fool. He's starting the Bhagavad Gita by chastising Arjun. That's why he's called Madhusudan. See, we all love people who talk goody-goody stuff to us, isn't it? And we love all those people who talk goody-goody stuff to us, who praise us, who appreciate us, who glorify us, who encourage us, who tell that we are all doing the right thing and all that. But we hate people who give us feedback. We hate people who tell that you're wrong. We hate people who tell us straight on our face that you are a fool. Bhagavad Gita only begins when you have the guts to accept feedback. Bhagavad Gita only begins when you have the guts to allow someone who has knowledge and understanding to help you understand that you don't know anything. Bhagavad Gita begins when you submit yourself to someone who has clarity and who has a right perspective. When you submit yourself to someone who has a right perspective and clarity, one of the things they do to you is shake you up. They shake you up because unless your misconceptions are removed, you will not be able to progress in your life. And to remove misconceptions, we need someone with compassion, someone who understands things, someone who loves us. Krishna loves Arjun, and therefore he's chastising Arjun here. Only when you love someone do you care for that person's well-being. Otherwise, most of the times we are doing goody-goody things with people. We don't want to tell them the truth. I know so many corporate companies where people don't want to give feedback to their colleagues. Why? Because they think they'll feel bad. They think that, my relationship with that person will get spoiled. Forget corporates. In spiritual organizations, we do not want to give feedback to people. Why? Because they may not be able to accept the feedback well. That's why Krishna and Arjun's combination is a very deadly combination. And that's the combination with which we can understand the Gita. The combination of a student who is confused, who is bewildered, who has tried his best to reason and find his way out, but he is not able to. And he has a Krishna to take shelter of. And the combination is of someone who is, and the Krishna has to be somebody who is not just intelligent, not just knowledgeable, not just practical, but also someone who genuinely loves you. That combination is what Krishna and Arjuna is. That combination is what, Ashrupurna Kulekshanam, which begins with, the second chapter begins with a confused Arjun, and Uvacha Madhusudana, a Madhusudan who can give clarity, a Madhusudan who can remove doubts from the mind. Hare Krishna. I'll stop here. Any questions, comments, discussions, please? Just entered into the second chapter of the Gita, and I'm hoping the second chapter has already caught your attention. So far, we have not begun philosophy at all. The philosophy is going to begin now because Krishna is going to start speaking now. So you will find that the moment Krishna speaks, the level of Gita goes to another level only. So far, it's been Dhritarashtra Uvacha, Sanjay Uvacha, and Arjuna Uvacha. But now you'll find Krishna starting to speak. And then the depth of the discussion goes to another level only. Rashmiji, please.
Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Mohanji, yes, please.
Yeah. You made a mention about the pot, and it's something similar to a parachute. A parachute functions only when it's open. So your mind should be open. But at the same time, you made a statement that the pot has to be clean from inside. Now, when you say clean from inside, does it mean that is with animosity, that part of it has to be cleaned off, or the previous hurt and the scars that are left in you have to be cleansed by yourself? No one else can clean it. We have to clean it.
Thank you for the question, Mohanji. Very thoughtful and very deep question. So my understanding is that when we're talking about cleansing the pot of ourself, from inside, what it really means is that obviously we don't have the strength to clean completely, right? Because I don't know if you have had an experience of cleaning these big cooking pots. And I remember years back, I used to do lots of cooking in our temple. And we used to have these massive iron pots, massive iron pots. And after the cooking, we used to clean the iron pots. And I remember it's such a struggle to clean those pots. It just takes so much effort, because the stains are bad. Similarly, when the stains are really, really bad, it takes a lot of effort to clean those stains, And that is why we are given an aid to help us clean those very, very complicated stains. Some of them have been for many lifetimes. And instead of using our own strength to clean those stains, we are given an aid in the form of chanting the holy names of Krishna. The Hare Krishna Mahamantra is one of the most powerful cleansing agents. Vim, Rin, Surf, all of them make so much advertisement, right? So saying that we are the best cleaners and we are the best detergents and all that. I mean, they all can do well in terms of the external dirt, but the Hare Krishna Mahamantra is like the most powerful cleansing agent which can clean the internal dirt, So the way in which we understand Bhagavad Gita is we do a combination of three things actually to be able to digest the Bhagavad Gita and to retain the knowledge of the Gita well, understand it well. On one hand, we chant the holy names of the Lord, where the cleansing process begins of cleansing the pot. On the other hand, we fill the pot with knowledge of the Gita, which is what these classes are doing to us, and we're reading. And the third thing, which actually helps us absorb even more, is service, seva. When we engage in some small service to the Lord, to the mission, to great teachers, that combination is very deadly. Because service attracts one element that we don't often have, which is the element of blessings. Because it is not by our intelligence that we will understand the message of the Gita. It's by blessings of great souls, and through the process of chanting, the cleansing that happens. So the combination of these three is what gives the best results spiritually. I hope that helps, Mohanji.
Yeah, thank you very much. And another one small thing about the holes that you mentioned, I think I missed it out a bit. The holes in the pot.
Oh, yeah. I was talking about material desires being holes. Okay. It's like, you're filling the pot with nice, beautiful things, and then you're making a hole below, saying that I want this also. So every time we have a desire that is contradictory to our spiritual thirst, contradictory to our spiritual pursuits, it actually is creating a hole in the pot. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Rashmi Gajraji, you want to ask a question? Please.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you for a very beautiful lecture. It was so enlightening. So there were a few things which were a bit contradictory. Number one, this starting with these, what this earlier Prabhuji just said. He spoke about stains and you spoke about stains. So are these stains samskaras or vasanas that we've collected? So, these are impressions that we have because of our past experiences through childhood or like through different lifetimes. What exactly are these stains that you're talking about?
Yeah. So they can be due to our past experiences in this life. It could be from previous lives also. It could also be things that we may not be responsible for ourselves, but somebody else may have come and dropped things into our mind and gone away, So there are many ways in which stains can come into our heart and our consciousness, and they stay for pretty long, basically.
Yes, Prabhuji. And so what you said was that you have to be free of any ulterior motives when you want to start the process of the Gita. But if you have all of these stains, because like you said rightly, they've been caused by others around you. So then that means that the person who has all of these issues will never be able to go past them and come and learn from,
Very nice question. I'll answer your question with the help of a story from Srila Prabhupada's life. Srila Prabhupada was, the founder of ISKCON, very, very powerful teacher. And when he went to the Western world and he started teaching to so many of these Westerners about the process of Krishna consciousness, about the process of spirituality. So, many of them became devotees. They became very strongly spiritually connected. They actually left all their vices and, took up spiritual path very seriously. At some point, they asked Prabhupada the question. And that's exactly what we're discussing, So they asked Prabhupada, what is our qualification that we could take up this path of Krishna consciousness seriously, what was our qualification? We asked Prabhupada this question. You know what Prabhupada said? Prabhupada said, you have no qualification. I created your qualification. So many times, it is not because we have the right desires or the right motive that we take up the path of spirituality. It may be some devotee praying for us. It may be some devotee hoping that this guy will take up or this person will take up the path of spirituality. The prayers and hope of that person may be the reason I'm taking it up. So it may not be my own qualification. It may be somebody else's prayer that has helped me take it up.
For example, if my parents were extremely spiritual and they prayed that I hope our children are as spiritual, so that spirituality automatically comes to me because of their prayers.
Yeah, very much, very much.
If I have somebody in my life who is absolutely not spiritual, I just have to pray for that person if I'm so concerned about them, right?
I can tell you that it works. I can give you hundreds of examples of people whose husband or wife was very serious about spiritual life, but the other one is just not at all interested. But they just been praying. The live example is in Krishna Leela, we find Kalia, the snake, a very, very arrogant guy, very powerful, very arrogant person. His wives are all nice devotees. They always told Kalia, don't do all this bad thing, don't harm people. Take shelter of Krishna. He never listened. But at some point, he was so badly beaten up, and then suddenly, spirituality dawned on him in some strange way. And then he could understand what his wives were telling at much, much later in retrospect. So for a lot of people, spirituality won't come easily. It won't come naturally. But if somebody else in their lives has been spiritual and a particular situation arises in their life, which is completely shattering them, completely, hits their ego, then suddenly they kind of, realize.
Wow. If it's okay, can I ask one last question?
Yes, please.
So you spoke about, people, their lives, and how we try to always look good on Instagram. And I'll be honest with you, Prabhuji, the work that I do makes me want to showcase my life and what I do on Instagram and Facebook on a daily basis. Often I try to be as authentic as I can, but knowing that, we can be vulnerable with only a few handful people, maybe one or two people. Like, obviously, Arjun is not going to go to Duryodhan and lament to him, right? And he can only lament to Krishna because Krishna is his friend and his, the person, his go-to person in that sense. So Duryodhan doesn't know about the turmoil. Only Sanjay knows about the turmoil that is happening between Arjun and Krishna, right? So there is that dichotomy in what we're saying, in the sense that we want to be authentic, but at the same time we can't, like, Arjun can't let his enemies know that he's in this situation, right? So how do you balance that out? Like, what is the percentage of authenticity and the fakeness that you have to shield yourself against your enemies or whatever? You know what I'm trying to say, right? You can't be like this.
Very authentic question. See, let me give you an answer. Simple. You don't have to showcase your private life in front of the world.
Correct.
Where some important things in life is best remain private. If you are attending Gita classes, you don't have to showcase to the world that I'm doing this, because a lot of people may not appreciate it. If you have 100 Duryodhans on your Instagram profile, they're not going to appreciate saying that, wow, you went to Gita class, congratulations. They will say, what nonsense, obviously, right? See, the point is that spirituality is a very private thing. It's a very private affair. Just keep it sacred and secret also. We expose.
Wow.
Sacred and secret. But we expose it only selectively to those people whom we have confidence that they will have faith in understanding and appreciating what we are doing, and they will share our knowledge. They will share our experience, and they'll get benefited also, basically. See, each one of us have some people whom we can share our vulnerabilities with. We can share our private inspirations with. We can't share it with everybody. They won't understand it, and they will, all probability misuse that information in whatever way they want to. So, absolutely, you should discriminate.
Yeah. So what was the point then that you were trying to make?
The point I was trying to make is, see, you are saying that Arjun did not share that he's hearing Gita from Krishna to Duryodhan.
I mean, no. What I'm saying was that he had a moment of weakness, no?
Correct.
Where he was crying and this and that. And what you spoke about was that what we show to the world and what we are two different things.
Correct.
What you said. So I'm trying to make sense of how that connection, I didn't understand how you're relating it to this situation, because I didn't get it. That's the question.
Okay. Let me explain again. The point I was saying is, Arjun is weak and is crying. We are also weak and crying at some time in our lives. And when we are weak and crying, we take shelter of someone who is stable and who can help us.
Correct.
That's exactly what Arjun is doing. Arjun is weak and is crying. And he's taking shelter of someone who he thinks is stable and can help him. That's the connection.
Okay, that's it then. What was the connection about the fakeness that we have as people?
Yeah, the connection is that we don't want to say that I'm crying.
Oh. Okay.
That's it. It may not happen with you, but it happens with a lot of people I know. Okay.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Anyone else? Any other questions or comments, please? Great. No more questions. That's interesting.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. So I had a
yes, Sarita, please.
Yeah. So when we are talking about false ego here, are we referring to Arjuna's understanding that he's being compassionate by refusing to kill his?
Can you please be a little louder, please?
So are we referring to Arjuna's compassion for his relatives? Is that the false ego, that he's understood his responsibility or his stand vis-a-vis his relatives?
Yeah. The false ego comes at many levels, and it manifests at many levels. One of the ways in which false ego manifests is by thinking that I am right. That's one of the most powerful ways false ego manifests, right? So Arjun has been spending the entire first chapter making conclusions why he cannot fight. So when we make conclusions, and think that we are right, that's a manifestation of false ego. Another manifestation of false ego is that it gives more importance to the body than the soul. That's another manifestation of the false ego. Yet another manifestation of the false ego is the desire not to take any help from anybody else, wanting to sort out the problem myself. That's again a manifestation of false ego. So like this, subtly there are many manifestations of false ego. The biggest manifestation of false ego is that I can help you. So if Arjun is thinking I can help you, I will help the Kauravas by not fighting. Let them have the kingdom. That's a big manifestation of false ego. When he's thinking that I am giving up, when he's thinking that I am not interested in this fight, there's a lot of I there, right? That's again manifestation of false ego.
Okay, thank you for the clarity, Prabhuji.
I hope that helps.
Yes, thank you for that clarity.
Komal Mataji, thank you for sharing your example. Very relevant and very apt. Thank you. Nagesh too?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Maybe this topic would be dealt in a future class as well, because it might be a little deep. But if you could give maybe a sneak peek. Across our life, we have various responsibilities that we cater to, maybe as a parent, maybe as a teacher, as a boss or a leader within our organization, in which we have to maybe assert our authority at certain point of time, leverage on, maybe we are using a sort of a position given to us, but certainly we leverage our own individual, the I element. So how do we, balance this and decide whether I am actually doing too much of my false ego or am I doing my duty? How do we strike the balance between these two?
For the question, Nageshji. In my understanding, I should always lead to we. So that means when I am doing anything in life, it has to lead to greater good for many others. If my focus on myself or my position or my power, whatever, it only leads to me growing. If it only leads to me growing and not at all benefiting society, then it becomes very prominent, manifestation of the false ego. So everyone who is a leader obviously has false ego, obviously has a sense of control, and has power in his or her hand. That's very obvious. But the question is not whether you hold it or not. The question is what do you do with it. So if the manifestation of your power, control, position, your role leads to a greater good, then you are not allowing that ego to affect you, but you are using that for a greater good to society. That's the whole point. So here Krishna is trying to tell Arjun. Arjun is saying, I don't want power. I don't want anything. I want to just run away. I'll be on my own. Krishna is telling, come on. You don't understand that you have been given such a position, such a situation. Why? It's not for you. It's for the world. So when Arjun is saying, no, I don't want anything, he's not able to understand the context in which Krishna is speaking. And that's why Krishna has to be so heavy on him, because he has lost the whole context, the bigger picture. So when you make yourself the big picture, you lose access to the bigger picture. These jigsaw puzzles, 100 small pieces are thrown here and there. For you to solve the jigsaw puzzle, you have to see the bigger picture at least once. If you have never seen the bigger picture, you will not be able to solve the puzzle. And interestingly, if you keep looking at each one of us are like one piece in that puzzle, right? If you keep looking at your piece only all the time, then what's the point? So there are a lot of people who forget the bigger picture and keep looking at themselves only and their role. So Arjun is thinking, he's only looking at his own role. Krishna is telling, Baba, look at the bigger picture. You're only one small thing in that role. I have a whole big plan for you, where you will be one instrument, one small part of it. When Arjun is saying, no, I'll run away, he's saying he's only focusing on his part, right? That's bad. Okay.
Prabhuji, how do we figure out what is our big picture?
How do you figure out what is our big picture?
Yeah.
So obviously we may not be able to see the complete picture right now from the vantage point in which we are standing. Arjun had fortunately Krishna to give him that kind of guidance. But many of us may not have that. But it takes a little bit of patience to wait for the bigger picture to get revealed. With time, very often we realize that if I just do my little role in the organization, in society, then over a period of time, I can see how my role fitted into the big picture. So that faith is what drives us towards doing our roles properly, right? And also what happens is each one of us are given a gift by God. Each one of us, we're born with a gift. There is nobody in this world who can say that I don't have a gift. I don't have any gift. Nobody in this world can say that. When we recognize our gift, how we recognize it, it's up to us. We have to keep trying to see, and then someday we'll figure out what our gift is. When we recognize our gift, when we use our gift in the best possible way to serve society, to serve God, and to serve humanity, then we are living our lives in alignment with the purpose for which we are created, basically. And when we live our lives in alignment with the purpose for which we are created, then we attain personal fulfillment and we fit into the jigsaw puzzle perfectly, So that's my understanding. So we may not understand the bigger picture completely, but at least you do your role properly. And what role should I do properly? Identify your gift. Once you identify your gift, you try your best to use the gift to the best possible way to serve society. And then you fit in. Okay.
That gift is Swadharma, right?
Pardon?
Is that gift your Swadharma?
Yeah. So we can call it Swadharma, we can call it talents, we can call it our skills, we can call it our abilities, we can call it our gift, whatever. Yeah. Komalji, you want to say something?
Yes, Prabhuji, again, the most important topic, chanting. It's like doing 16, 18 rounds, but okay, initially I used to try and finish as much early in the morning. These days it's not happening. So it's like, during the day. So it's like you do 2-3 malas and then there's a phone call, and then, you even while you're chanting, you're like, okay, I'll do these 2 rounds, and then I have to just check whether this mail ka reply has come, or the WhatsApp message from the client is the client has reverted, or all these thoughts while chanting keep happening. So I don't know whether this kind of chanting will help me, how much it will benefit. It's like cleansing is not happened properly, the complete focus is still not there. So
that anytime you do anything after 9 o'clock, you're doing it with half focus only, most of the time, That's the reality of life. I mean, anybody who has a smartphone, which is not exactly smart, really makes us dull. Anything that happens after 9 a.m. is pretty half quality work, Whether it is real-time work, what our spiritual work practices, or our job, or anything like that, So the best thing that you can do in life is if you can keep pre 9 a.m. as focused as possible for the most important things of your life. So that's my advice to anybody who is interested in spiritual life. Try to wake up early. Nothing like waking up at 4:30, I mean, if you can get up 4:35 at max, you will not have a single day to complain about lack of time. The problem is we sleep at 1 o'clock in the night. Then nobody can help you.
At 1 o'clock, it's like 11:30 with the child, the schooling, morning duties with the child, all of that. And then I go to the gym. But yeah, I try to at least hear a lecture in the gym. That's what I do.
See,
but
it's like, my suggestion is all of you all as a family should sit together and have some discussions, basically. Because these are very healthy habits, actually, very, very healthy habits. I remember my father and mother, they used to be so strict with us about sleeping times. And I'm really so grateful to them. I mean, at that point, I didn't understand. At 10 o'clock, all lights in the house off. And my father would go and tuck, put all lights off, And I would get really irritated with him, at that point, But now I'm so grateful that he did that. So it's a choice that we have to make. Somebody has to take the job. Otherwise, we are actually pushing our children towards bad habits, which we have developed ourselves. So somebody has to take that call. I mean, who will take the call? That's up to y'all. You all decided as a family. But I'm not telling you something that is like some rocket science or something. This is something that you study the life of any great achiever in the world. You study the life of any great successful, not just spiritualist, any great successful person in the world, you will not find any of them waking up late. The common thread in all of them is that they get up early. Now, we might say that we are getting up early for spiritual practices, But whatever it is, whether it is spiritual or not, getting up early is not an option. It's not a choice. It's a mandatory thing. And the earlier you get up, 4:35, max 5 or 6 is like, I mean, beyond 6, I don't know. I don't even know what I would say to people. The earlier you get up, the more you have of your day and your energy. As simple as that. Don't waste that precious time in sleeping, please. It may sound harsh. It may sound, too Ethiopian and all that, but I'm telling you, it's very practical and it's very doable. If you just you have to just tighten one side of the day.
Right.
You tighten one side of the day, the other side will automatically fall in place.
Right.
10 days, no matter what, get up at a particular time. Then automatically you'll start sleeping on time.
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you,
Bobby?
Prabhuji.
Good evening. My question is very actually funny because I'm a DJ by profession. So,
Bobby, you need to speak a little louder. I'm not able to hear.
Okay, I'm saying that good evening. I said my question is a little different. The thing is that I'm a DJ by profession. So I work in the nights. So, now what happens is sometimes I sleep at 2 o'clock, sometimes I sleep at 4 o'clock. And, it's very difficult for me to get up in the morning, although I do most of the time, but 5, 6 is out of the question, but I get up at around 7 o'clock. So, but one thing, before you could answer this question, I'd like to tell you something very interesting, what I found in my life, which you already must be knowing about it, that when I do yoga regularly, like pranayam, which I already do, but when I do it ekdam regularly, I need very less sleep. I don't need to sleep for even 8 hours. Sometimes I sleep for 5 hours and that's just enough. I mean, I don't feel like sleeping anymore. But when I don't do it, then, that timing varies. Sometimes I need 7 hours, sometimes I sleep in the afternoon, that lethargicness and all that comes. And most of the theories and most of the things what I've seen, like, I've been reading a book on of this 7 habits of influencer, the most influential people or whatever. So in that also they say you have to get up early, but they never mention something for people who sleep late at night. So I'd like to ask you, like, what do you have to say about this and what should we do?
So your question is how not to sleep late at night?
The question is that if I have to work at night till morning.
Your work at night?
Yeah, because I'm a DJ, so I work in the nightclubs and bars.
Okay,
so,
okay.
Got it. It's not possible to sleep. Yeah.
So the thing is, when it is, like, say, for example, just to give you a practical solution, can you get up one day early in the week? That's it. Begin like that. That's it. Begin there. One day a week you get up early. Let's begin there. And you see the benefit of that, of getting up early, and you see the difference of the quality of your life. Then you can make your own choices, right?
Means are you saying that, then you can sleep in the afternoon or whatever and compensate? That's what are you trying to say?
Yeah. You can sleep in the day if needed. If you need to sleep, you sleep.
Okay.
But that early morning, the energy that is there and the vibration that is there and the mode of goodness that is there, that you can't get it in the rest of the day.
Right. Got it. I got it. Thank you.
Okay. Great. Thank you very much. Very, very happy to be with all of you all, and hopefully some of what we discussed will help you all in your personal journeys. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you,
Lovely
Prabhuji.
session today, Prabhuji. Very lovely session. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you.